people need to be intentional. If you're intentional, you will get what you expect. If you just go into it, it's random, it's vague, and you're not going to get what you want and need. With the money, the time, and then connection, the more specific and intentional we are, the more we shift from lack to prosperity. Welcome back to the Real Estate InvestHER show. We are talking about what to do when you feel like something is missing in your business. And that's a big one because there's many days, right, Andressa? We feel like something is missing, something is lacking. And we know we shouldn't be doing that, but we often do it. So we're going to give you some suggestions on how to move through 3 things specifically in a powerful way.
Yeah, I think that this is the key for us to grow our business. If we keep thinking that there's something outside that I don't have control of, then I am in limbo, right? So that's the goal for this minisode, for us to break it down for you. How can you take back control with very specific action steps?
Welcome back, everyone. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate InvestHER show. We are talking about what to do when you feel like something is missing in your business. And that's a big one because there's many days, right, Andressa? We feel like something is missing, something is lacking. And we know we shouldn't be doing that, but we often do it. So we're going to give you some suggestions on how to move through 3 things specifically in a powerful way.
Yeah, I think that this is the key for us to grow our business. If we keep thinking that there's something outside that I don't have control of, then I am in limbo, right? So that's the goal for this minisode, for us to break it down for you. How can you take back control with very specific action steps?
All right, Andressa. So here's the inspiration, because I think for often we're listening to our community, we're listening to our Strive members, we're listening everywhere, and with the community we built globally, and we're listening to like what's working for women and what's not working. So we were inspired to share this today with many of you because we heard from one of our community members. She wasn't feeling connected to the community. And I think that's one of the things, the thing, right, Andressa, that you and I pride ourselves on is that, yes, it's knowledge, but it's the community, it's the connection that's really going to equal having you take confident action. That's why we exist, the InvestHER community. So anyway, that really sparked some conversation, of course, between Andressa and I, and just kind of listening and saying, okay, wow, that's coming up for her. It's probably coming up for others. So we're going to break down three areas, quite honestly, Andressa, that a lot of women in our community talk about lacking, that they're missing. Number 1 would be money. It's a big one right now in our kind of state of investing. Number 2 would be time. And then number 3 is feeling connected, because I think that is something that comes up for a lot of women. So let me talk a little bit about money, because I have actually a good story about the money part. You know, for many years, I think, you know, my husband and I, as we were growing our portfolio, we're kind of making ends meet and just figuring it out and getting, you know, taking that next step. We bought a property and then we'd have a few steps back. And, you know, there was various challenges we were working through. My relationship to money, Andressa, was tough. You know, I didn't want to spend it. I'm naturally a saver, and it really created this like lack of money, this energy, right? This mindset. And I went to a workshop and they challenged us. They said, okay, what are you lacking right now in your business? So of course, you know, I write down money. So first thing I wrote down, and they said, okay, great. Go into, you know, you're going to now give that very thing away to others. I'm like, hold on.
You didn't hear me, sir. I said I don't have it.
Exactly. I think I looked in my wallet at that moment, right? And I think I had like $19. And I was like, all right. So they said, whatever, you know, they gave some examples. Money was one of them. And they said, whatever you have in your wallet, give it away. I was like, ooh. And I'm like, $19. No, I think everything's a lot of money. I'm like, I got to give away $19. So, you know, I went to church that weekend and I ended up giving that $19 away. And then I did more of that. And I was tithing more. I was giving to my church. I was giving to and I wasn't giving all my money, of course, is obviously proportion, but that energy of giving created this energy of moving from lack to prosperity. And I think that's a really important way to think about when you do feel like that lack and that something's missing. You're going to get more of that if you don't shift it, right? So I think that's just, you get what you focus on, you know, and I focused on the giving So fascinating is that in my life in the next several months, what showed up more in my life? More money, more opportunities to create money. And it wasn't just the serendipity. It was the energy that I was putting out. And it was the mindset I had, hands down. What do you think, Andressa?
I think that when people say I don't have the money, right? This is an area of opportunity. So you need to work on that. You need to listen to podcasts, attend conferences. InvestHER, for example, it's all about the finances, taking control of your finances. But I just, one thing that I cannot just stand is that people say that over and over again for years, right? But they don't tackle it. They don't deal with it. They don't understand and seek to understand what is continuously causing that issue, right? Oh, what is it? Is it the job? Is it that you're not managing the cash flow of your properties? Where is the bleeding happening? Is it any habit that you might have living, above your means? I just don't stand for that. That is not enough for me. Not having money, it's not an enough excuse to keep hearing over and over again as a justification why people are not growing themselves and their business. Now, if somebody is dealing with that and saying, at this moment, I don't have it, and this is what I am doing in order to get better, then we're on the right track. But you can't be saying, my family never had money and I don't have money.
Yeah, you're going to get more of that.
The cycle needs to stop. You cannot keep using that excuse or that reason, right? What happened in the past, great. That is an example of the life that you don't want. So what are you going to do different? And nowadays, there's no excuse. There's so much information out there, podcasts, videos, things that you can do that don't cost. And that's the goal of this community here. And if you have a question, they're like, I already researched, don't know how to do it in this situation. Post it on our Facebook community. We have a lot of women there that went through so many different things that can support you on this journey.
And even just, asking yourself, what is lacking? And how do I shift this to that prosperity kind of consciousness, if you will, or mindset is going to move the pendulum, being aware of your own thoughts. Sometimes we're not even aware, right, Andressa, of what's coming up for us. And we ask a lot, right, in our Strive mentorship program, what's coming up for you? So it's identifying what's coming up, identify the lack, but then what can you do to move through it, right? Versus the world. So the second one is time. And as I was preparing for this, and Andressa and I like to debrief and just put the best episodes we can out, I said, there's a sense of lack of time. She goes, hold on. You can't lack time. You can only not manage time. So that's so true. But we often feel, especially the women in our community, right? They're spinning a lot of plates. They do feel stretched in the different roles that they have in their life. And there's moments of feeling a lack of time. Now, we know, right? Money is abundant. Time is finite. Time is actually fairly finite. It's not like I get 25 hours, Andressa gets 24 hours, and, Susie over there gets 30 hours. We don't get a different amount of time.
Susie, I hate Susie. Susie always gets the best hours. This is an internal joke for all of you. Susie is a character. Susie is everything for us. Susie is everything. And like all the women, it's Susie. So when we mention Susie on our podcast or in conference, it is not a person that we know, okay?
Correct.
Susie, she's been with us
a long time.
And we blame her for a lot of things.
But what you can't control how much time you're given, but if you're feeling there's a lack, you need to manage your time differently. And so there's so many different strategies on how to do this, right, Andressa?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to and you have to find one thing you can do differently to manage your time differently, not 25 things. One thing,
right? We have like time blocking. You have theme days. There's so many books about about that, right? Atomic Habits is one of them. But one thing that I think is coming up for me more recently is like, I know how I'm spending my time. And at the end of the day, I kind of like do a debrief in terms of how do I feel about how I spend my time? And if my nerves are high, I feel like, I did not make a good choice with my time today. I don't want to like next week I look back, I won't remember it, how I spend my time, right? But if I take a deep breath at the end of the day and say, okay, how did I spend my time here in terms of leadership, growth, and execution? Do I feel good about it? Or, well, that meeting that took freaking an hour should have been taking 20 minutes. What can I do here? Because I'm not doing that tomorrow, right? Or what can I shift here? I think that the issue is that many people don't reflect on that. And then they're going to just don't remember it, what really happened. And then they blame others about that they're being robbed of their time. I'm guilty of it. Right? But then you come down to like, okay, it was my choice. Nobody forced me to go anywhere or stay or do anything. So I am 100% responsible for how I choose to spend my time. So that's like the awareness needs to be to the high level. Otherwise, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no time enough. There is. You just need to look at what is priority and what it's not. Which is another episode list that I think we should record.
Yes.
How to prioritize when you have multiple things that are high priority.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one for another day. And the third area to take a look at and to really say, okay, if you're feeling lack of connection, and obviously that looks differently. And Justin and I were, again, debriefing. How she feels connected is different than me. We're all kind of wired a little differently. We all need people a little bit more and talking to people more on the pendulum of right extroversion, introvert, and those sort of things. But beyond that, regardless of your personality, everyone, I think a human need is to feel connected in the way that works for you. And I think it's fascinating to hear people in our community saying they don't feel connected, right? Because that's literally the reason why we exist. So if you feel that way, the question on the table is, what can I do to get more connected to others? What does that look like for me in the way it would work for me? Meaning I can spend my time going to a networking event and a local InvestHER meetup. That's why we have meetups, right? So you're in person with local women in your community. Or I can and then as a follow-up to that, maybe spend my time. What I really, really want to do is maybe meet one or two women, like-minded women from that meetup that I connect with, that I want to have a quick coffee with to really support each other. Are we clear on our intentions when we're meeting people? People need to be intentional, right? Before they go to networking, before they go to events and say, how can I feel connected? How can I get that connection need met? And what does that look like for me? If you're intentional, you will get what you expect. If you just go into it, you're here to just meet people. It's random, it's vague, and you're not going to get what you want and need. I think the more specific, right, with the money, the time, Andressa, and then connection, the more specific and intentional we are, the more we shift from lack to prosperity, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that I am an introvert, right? So connection for me, it's like I can't go to a conference and go to every single networking event. I'll drain. You guys gotta have to carry me, which happened in the past.
I have done that.
Not because you've done that, literally, right? Not because I enjoy some adult beverage because I don't drink, but because I'm like literally my energy is drained, right? So to me, I want to talk. I want to know in advance, which every time that we already know who we want to spend our time with and where, and very like in a calm, intentional way. In my life, right? When I feel connected, my best friend from Brazil, we don't see each other often. Do I feel connected to her? Yes. So what I need, it's mindful conversation. So I feel connected with that person. again, right? But when you're thinking about where you're going, where you're getting your connections from, I think it first starts with you. Do you feel aligned / connected with yourself, with your goals? And then, and something that I'm guilty of, Liz, when we think that, oh, I'm going to get all that I need from this person or this group. And I don't think that that's the case.
Sure.
You have a small circle of people that are your friends that you want to talk different things. You feel connected with them. You have your family. How do you want to feel connected with your family? And then let's say your meetups. If you're part of Strive, you have your accountability group. How am I showing up to those connections? It's basically a reflection, right? So it's not like I don't feel connected in one area. Usually that disconnection is happening across the board, right? And InvestHER, for example, we have what we call mindful breaks, where we intentionally, that's an intentional exercise that we do for women to connect with one another, to connect with our sponsors. Then there's time for them to journal, to connect with themselves. Then there's time for them to connect with a speaker, with interactions. And then there's time for them to be quiet, and feel the room full of women who are movers and shakers. One of our, just a kick, about connection that it's very surprising to me. When we do our survey about InvestHER, one of the sessions that people like the most is the session that we make one entire circle and we light up a candle. Don't freak out, real estate investors. This candle is like fake candle. It's not real candle. We're not burning the place. But that's what people feel that the most connected, when it's an entire circle. We're looking and connecting with one another and we feel that we belong. Usually lack of connection comes from not feeling that we belong. So the first step is to really show up, right? Show up and then call the shots. And if you feel on the other end, right, Liz? If you feel that somebody is disconnected from the group, how can I show up for that person? I think that that's as equally important when I don't feel disconnected or when I feel that my peer is not connecting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not calling them out, but it's calling them up, right? To take a stand with you, and they're in this community together. So whatever's coming up for you right now, right? Whether it's the money or time or the connection, think of one action you can take to move the pendulum of lack to abundance, because that's what it takes. To be honest, there's no secret. That's what it takes. And you get more of what you focus on. It's not my opinion. It's literally the way the universe works. So with that, we appreciate you being on this journey, and post in our Facebook community. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for listening. Ciao.